This is MTG Burgeoning, and in this video we will showcase the contents of Black Color Support Pack number 5 of our Jumpstart Commander Cube. If you haven't been following along or are new to the channel, look in the description of this video for links to the primer video for this series, its playlist, as well as a list of the cards featured in this video. As previously showcased during the primer video for this series, these are the types of cards you can expect to see in every color support pack. Now, with the prologue coming to an end, let's start spotlighting some black support cards, beginning with 3 basic swamps. There they are. There's 3 of them. They're basic and they're swampy. Next up, we have 3 more basic swamps, but these are the snow-covered variety. So 3 plus 3 in a lot of books out there is going to equal 6. So to start off this color support pack, like every color support pack before it and after it, we're going to start with a total of 6 basic lands. Let's keep the eyes poking out, but not too far. We got to make sure that the siphoner here, make sure it stays a little bit mysterious for everyone. There we go. All right, 6 basic lands. Next up is going to be our Thriving land, which, since it's a black support pack, it's going to be Thriving Moor. This enters the battlefield tapped, and when it does, we choose a color other than black. We can tap this land to add 1 black mana or 1 mana of the chosen color to our mana pool. Our second consecutive non-basic land is also our utility land for the pack, and that card is Memorial to Folly. This enters the battlefield tapped, taps for a black mana, and we can pay 2 and 1 black mana, tap it, and sacrifice it to return target creature card from our graveyard to our hand. Note that we do not have to do this during our turn, because the dreaded line of text, activate only as a sorcery, is absent from Memorial to Folly. A great way to bring a creature card back from our graveyard and get it into our hand. Our next card is going to be our MDFC. That is going to be our modal double face card. We have a spell on the front and a land on the back. And in this 5th black color support pack, that card is Fell the Profane. At instant speed for 2 and 2 black mana, we simply destroy target creature or planeswalker. The mana is a little bit inflated here, but it's an MDFC. What do you expect? Besides, spot removal is never a bad thing in a format like Commander. However, if that doesn't wet your whistle, then perhaps the backside will. We can choose to just play this as Fell Mire and put it onto our side of the battlefield tapped. When it comes into play, we may pay 3 life, and if we don't, that land will stay tapped. And then, we untap it during our next untap step. We can tap to add 1 black mana to our mana pool. Since Fell the Profane has the land option on its backside, we're going to slap it up there with the rest of our lands. Okay, so our next card in this support pack, if you're following along with the checklist at home, we have our Planeswalker, and that is Sorin the Mirthless. We have a Sorin Planeswalker that comes into play with 4 loyalty counters for 2 and 2 black mana. That's going to be 1 loyalty counter per 1 mana spent, a fantastic return when we're spending that mana to cast a Planeswalker. We can add a loyalty counter to this version of Sorin to look at the top card of our library. We may reveal that card and put it into our hand, and if we do, we lose life equal to its mana value. I like the fact that we can choose whether or not to put it into our hand, because if it's going to be a massive loss of life, then maybe we'll just draw that card in less impactful to our life total ways. We can take 2 loyalty counters off of Sorin to create a 2/2 black vampire creature token with flying and lifelink. That's a great way to help protect the Mirthless one here. And if we have Sorin on our side of the battlefield long enough, we can remove 7 loyalty counters from him to have Sorin deal 13 damage to any target, and we gain 13 life. I don't know how often or how impactful that will be. Maybe as we're getting closer to the end of the game and it's 1v1, that could be the crushing stroke that lands us victory. I sense that more often than not, we're going to be jamming +1/+1 loyalties onto Sorin every single day of the week for the potential of card advantage, and twice during Friday Night Magic. All right, our next card is going to be our creature modifier. That's either going to be an aura or an equipment. And here in color support pack number 5 of the black variety, it is an aura, but it comes with some trickeries. We have Night Howler, an enchantment creature horror for 1 and 2 black mana. If we so choose to cast it for 1 and 2 black mana, its power and toughness are each its power and toughness are each X, where X is the number of creature cards in all graveyards. So depending on the timing that we get this horror onto our side of the battlefield, that could be a whole heck of a lot of creatures boosting the Night Howler's power and toughness. However, for just 1 generic mana from its mana value of 1 and 2 black, we can spend 2 and 2 black mana to bestow this creature instead. And if we cast this card for its bestow cost, it becomes an aura spell with enchant creature. So if we do it that way, then the creature that this aura enchants gets +X, where X is the number of creature cards in all graveyards. If we do cast this card for its bestow cost, and it's an aura on enchanted creature, if enchanted creature would leave the battlefield and this aura falls off, then it becomes Night Howler the creature, which is going to be, of course, power and toughness equal to the number of creature cards in all graveyards. It would really, really benefit us to make sure we get the 2-for-1 by casting this spell for its bestow cost, getting an aura, and then hopefully at some point later in the game, ending up with a creature. All right, next up on our card list, we have our Color Strength spell. And since we're dealing with black, we like to have some fast mana in black. And one of the most iconic fast mana spells in black of all of Magic the Gathering is Dark Ritual. Instant speed, 1 black mana gives us 3 black mana to our mana pool. Love the return on that. For 1, we're getting 3. That's an excess of 2. We're profiting 2 black mana. Bring on the rest of the game. All right, next up, we're now shifting to our spot and mass removal and disruption spells. And our first spot spell is Go for the Throat. Instant speed, 1 and 1 black mana. We destroy target's non-artifact creature. There are so many non-artifact creatures across all of these color support packs and commander packs that we should never be without 1 Go for the Throat target. Unless there's one particular commander build, but even with the commander pack being all artifact creatures, the support packs will have non-artifact creatures in them, so Go for the Throat should always have a target. Our second spot removal spell is Baleful Mastery. Instant speed, 3 and 1 black mana. We exile target creature or planeswalker. So we're paying a little bit of an inflated cost to exile that creature or planeswalker instead of destroying it, which a lot of times is much more beneficial, particularly because of all of the graveyard recursion that we see in EDH. Having that creature or planeswalker lost to exile is a lot more daunting to bring back than simply getting it into that player's graveyard. However, we don't necessarily have to pay 3 and 1 black mana. We may pay 1 and a black instead of paying 3 and a black, and if we do it that way, then an opponent draws a card. To that I say blasphemy. You will never see me doing that. You know MTG Burgeoning does not do anything to help his opponents. But this card was voted in by the other members of the playgroup, and if more than anything, I want to make sure that we hear all voices here at MTG Burgeoning. So, for 3 and 1 black mana, we exile target creature or planeswalker, and then if you're not MTG Burgeoning, sure, go put a card in an opponent's hand. And then just cast its spell for a 50% reduction on the mana, but you put a card in a player's hand that isn't your own. All right, moving forward. Now we're going to go to our mass removal and disruption spells. And if you've been following along with the previous 4 black color support packs, this one including and the last one being number 6 coming soon, you know that this spot is dedicated to a card that comes into play and forces a mass sacrifice amongst all players at the table. And in this spot for this pack, that card is Plaguecrafter, a 3/2 human shaman for 2 and 1 black mana. When Plaguecrafter ETBs, each player sacrifices a creature or a planeswalker. Each player who can't sacrifice either a creature or a planeswalker, they must discard a card instead. For us, it's easy. We're just going to sacrifice Plaguecrafter. We knew we were going to do that. We were just waiting for the most opportune time to put it onto our side of the battlefield. And speaking of opportune times, it may not be so much for our opponents who are going to be forced to sacrifice a creature or a planeswalker, or they're going to be discarding a card if they have neither of those two options to sacrifice. Our second mass removal spell could leave the battlefield completely wide open for us to start swinging in during our next turn, or perhaps that turn if we have some way to promote haste, and that card is Massacre Girl, a 4/4 legendary human assassin with menace for 3 and 2 black mana. When Massacre Girl enters the battlefield, each other creature gets -1/-1 till end of turn. Whenever a creature dies this way, each creature other than Massacre Girl gets -1/-1 until end of turn. So as long as we have some X1s on our side of the battlefield, Massacre Girls should have very little trouble wiping the board of every single creature on every side of the battlefield, and the only creature left standing will be our human assassin. All right, our next card is going to be our hate card, our defense card, and in our 5th color support pack in the black variety, that is Braid's Arisen Nightmare, a 3/3 legendary nightmare for 1 and 2 black mana. At the beginning of our end step, we may sacrifice an artifact, creature, enchantment, land, or planeswalker. If we do, each opponent may sacrifice a permanent that shares a card type with it, and for each opponent who does not, they're going to lose 2 life, and we're going to draw a card. So more than anything, this is going to be very battlefield specific and board state specific. If we have an influx of a particular card type and our opponents do not, we're certainly going to want to start to sacrifice that during our end step, putting them into the tough decision of, do I sacrifice this or do I keep it, lose 2 life, and have MTG Burgeoning draw a card? Hopefully they make the right choice and have us draw cards, because we'll do that every single day of the week and twice during Friday Night Magic. Next up is going to be our Resource Advancement card. So this is a card that looks to give us cards in hand, mana acceleration, advancing our side of the board. And in this color support pack, Krav the Unredeemed is going to do that for us. A 3/3 demon for 4 and 1 black mana. It does partner with Regna the Redeemer, but we are not looking at that as part of this color support pack. Regna is not in this color support pack. Regna is, at the moment, not in any of the packs in this Jumpstart cube. So what does Krav do for us? We can pay a black mana, sacrifice X creatures to have target player draw X cards and gain X life, and then we put X +1/+1 counters on Krav. The best case scenario here is that we are running with a token build that allows us to sacrifice these inexpensive creature tokens to Krav as a way in which to draw cards, gain life, and make Krav bigger and bigger so that we can send it into combat, most likely getting chump blocked down, or perhaps not, if the moons align and we can send Krav in to do some burst combat damage to an opponent. Our next card is our Combat Enhancement card, and we are going to enhance combat for us by way of making some 1/1 creature tokens in the form of rats. Here we have Ogre Slumlord, a 3/3 Ogre Rogue for 3 and 2 black mana. Whenever another non-token creature dies, we may create a 1/1 black rat creature token. Note, whenever another non-token creature dies, they can be an opponent's non-token creature. They can be one of our non-token creatures. Whatever non-token creature hits the graveyard from the battlefield, we are going to create a 1/1 black rat, and the Ogre Slumlord is going to give rats we control Death Touch. Having all of those rats on our side of the battlefield that will trade up with any creature that's walking that's going to come our way in combat, that's going to act as an ultimate combat deterrent for our opponents, and if we get enough rats, we can start sending them into combat, forcing our opponents to make some tough decisions. Either they let us deal points point after point after point of combat damage with these 1/1 death touching rats, or they're going to trade up with their creatures and block them and lose those creatures because our rats have death touch, and whenever they deal combat damage to a creature, those creatures are destroyed at the end of combat. All right, MTG BC, we are down to the last card of our color support pack here. It is our iconic creature type, and if you've seen any of the previous black support packs, you know that our iconic creature type in black is Demon, and our Demon in this pack, pack number 5, it is Burning Rune Demon, a 6/6 Demon Berserker with flying for 4 and 2 black mana. When Burning Rune Demon enters a battlefield, we may search our library for exactly 2 cards not named Burning Rune Demon that have different names. Well, that's not going to be a difficult thing here for the most part. There may be a commander pack or 2 that is stocked with this card, or a deck may have any number of cards named ... in them. I guess we'll just have to go and seek out the other videos to see if that is a spoiler, and it most certainly is not. That is it is a spoiler. I was trying to run that. It's not a prediction, it's a spoiler line, but I completely guffawed it up. Anyway, so if we do find those 2 cards that have different names, an opponent chooses one of them, we put the chosen card into our hand and the other card into our graveyard, and then we shuffle our library. So more often than not, our opponent is probably going to pick the lesser of the 2 cards to put into our hand, and depending on what we have in our hand, we may be able to get the card that goes to the graveyard anyways. Or, through some politicking at the EDH table, perhaps the opponent will put the most powerful card into our hand, knowing that it's going to be needed to slow down the player who is completely dominating the game. Either way, Burning Rune Demon's coming into play as a 6/6 flyer, and we're getting at least 1 card straight into our hand, either from an opponent that's going to give us the card that they want, or an opponent that's going to give us the card that we want. All right, MTG BC, we have showcased the contents of Black Color Support Pack number 5 of our Jumpstart Commander Cube. I look forward to reading your thoughts about these cards in the comments section below. This is MTG Burgeoning, a channel for all things Magic.